Hi, it's Katie here. I've just hopped on here today to show you a new beaded box that I've made. I'm teaching this one in two variations. You can either get an online workshop where you get some video demonstrations if you need them, or you can just buy the download as a PDF tutorial from my website. So I'll give you links to both of those if you're interested at the end, but if not, just enjoy watching this and being introduced to my latest beaded box, or perhaps my latest crazy idea, depending on how you look at it. Okay, what we've got here is my beaded box. Now let me just come in and tip it up so you can see a bit better. I'm going to start by explaining that the inspiration for this is quite personal to me. It came from an ancient healing practice from Hawaiian culture. So I know that's probably not going to resonate with everyone. I won't go into it now, but I will link to some articles and things that you can look at if you're interested. But this actually works on more than one level. So on that level, each of the boxes has got the messages in that healing practice. So the top one, I love you. The next one about forgiveness. So I'm sorry, please forgive me. And the last one about gratitude. Thank you. Now, if you forget about all of that ancient wisdom, you can actually just take this as three separate boxes. You may not have realised, but they are three boxes that stack one inside the other with a lid. So you might want to make all three as I've done and stack them, or you can actually just make single boxes. So take this one, little gratitude box. I mean, you could give that one to somebody filled with a gift to say thank you for anything, take away from the healing practice that may have inspired me. Same with this, I love you. You could create that. If you want to create the single boxes, you don't need to add the base section. That's only on there to allow them to stack one inside the other. And if you don't like any of these messages, I've also given you an extra pattern that I haven't beaded up yet that is just a floral decoration that sits around the sides of the box. So you can add that in to create a full stack of boxes, or you could use that to replace one or more of the others. So basically you've got absolutely loads of opportunity for playing around with different combinations and different ideas with this project. Now you're going to be working entirely in Peyote Stitch, and as beaded boxes go, this is actually very simple technically. The hardest part about it is probably the lip in here. But even that is not difficult at all. I've created a lid that is incredibly easy with no lips or anything complicated. And you're going to be using size 11 delicas for all of this. So probably these are beads that you've got in your stash anyway. I've given you some ideas for changing colouring to suit what you like, and I've given you lots of additional information in the course. So you can really personalise these and use them for whatever purpose makes sense to you. Now I have to confess, this is an idea that I first thought up back in 2019, but I didn't do anything about it back then. But somehow, with all the coronavirus around at the moment, it felt like maybe this was the time to turn this idea into an actual box. And I've actually been using my box to help me with the harder mental side of things as we're all suffering lockdown and fear about what might happen in all sorts of ways. So what I've been doing is writing little messages to store inside my boxes, and they're sort of related to what the box is about. So if I just show you inside my thank you box, I've been writing down things that I'm grateful for. So for example, Riverford. Now they're the fresh food company that deliver vegetables to me each week. They've been absolutely brilliant in helping out their customers, and I'm really grateful that I am a customer of theirs and that they've just managed everything in such a good way. And then I've got another one here which says Skype, which allows me to chat to Eleanor and Linny. They're my two little nieces and I miss them, but at least I can still have some face-to-face time with them. So they're not big things here, but it's just really nice to have those, so if I'm having a bad day when everything just feels a bit overwhelming, I can take a look inside my box and just remember all the things that are still good in life. Now, this may not be an idea that appeals to you, but if it does help you in some way, then that's great. If it doesn't, well, do make sure that you try and maintain some awareness of your mental health. I mean, whether it's just using extra beading to help you out or finding another hobby or something, it's very, very easy to get depressed or go completely insane, quite honestly, and we don't need that happening. So just be mindful and take care, and I hope that this might help you in some way, as it's been helping me. Okay, so you might be looking at that and thinking, oh my gosh, that's way too difficult for me to create. Well, I'd like to try and change your mind about that. So I've just included a little section here of part of the beginning of the tutorial. It shows you how to work in Square Peyote Stitch, and I'm hoping that by watching that you will come to believe that it's actually not as difficult as you're imagining. So let me leave you with that, and I'll be back again. The peyote square increase cycle is actually made with circular peyote stitch. You're creating the square by picking up beads in a certain order with a specific increase pattern, and that takes place over a cycle of 5 rows. So I'm going to demonstrate that row by row, but to start off we have 2 rows that just set things up. So let's take a look at those to begin with. Right, so for the first row you're just going to pick up 4 beads, and I've tied my working and tail threads together in a double knot, so that's just pulled my 4 beads into a circle. Now if I pass my needle through one of the beads, it just gets it away from the knot. So that's row 1 completed. In row 2 we're going to pick up 1 bead, pass through the next bead in the circle. Again, pick up 1 bead, pass through the next bead in the circle, pick up 1, pass through 1, and your final bead in this row, again pick up 1 bead. You're going to pass through the last bead in the circle, and then, because this is circular peyote, we have a step up. So that means passing on through the first bead in the row that you've just added. So we've now got very much a little square shape, and if I pause there I'll let you catch up, and then we'll look at how the actual square cycle works. Okay, in row 1 of the square increase cycle you're going to be adding 3 beads in each corner. Now at this stage we've basically only got 4 corners, so in each stitch we're picking up 3 beads and we're passing through the next bead from the previous row. You want to just make sure you keep a fairly good tension as you're working. So again, 3 beads on the needle, through the next bead from the previous row, 3 beads on the needle, through the 3rd bead, that's the next bead from the previous row, and in your last stitch you've got 3 beads on the needle. You're going to pass through the last bead from the previous row, and then you're going to step up by passing through just the first bead from the row you've just completed. So that's the first bead in your group of 3. So we've now got quite a strange looking little shape. But I'll pause there, let you do that row, and then show you row 2 of the square increase cycle. Now in row 2 of the square increase cycle we're adding a pair of beads in each corner and a single bead along each side. So we're starting in a corner in this particular row. We're picking up 2 beads. You're going to miss the middle bead in that group of 3 and go through the 3rd bead in the group. Now my middle bead has moved nicely into position, which is very kind of it. In the next stitch we're working along a side, so you're adding just 1 bead. You're going through just the first bead in your next group of 3. So we're in another corner now. Again, we're picking up 2 beads, skip the middle bead, pass through the 3rd bead in the group of 3, and as you pull your thread up, you want to snuggle it and ease that middle bead down so it sort of pops downwards. That's it. Sometimes it needs a little bit of extra help with a fingernail. Now again, along a side, we're just adding a single bead. pass through the first bead in the next group in the corner. Once again, 2 beads to go on the needle, skipping the middle bead in the group of 3 and passing through the third bead. Make sure that middle bead just pops down. We've got 1 single bead to go in the next space along the side, and in this last corner again 2 beads, and we're missing the middle bead in the group of 3, going through the third bead, and as we pull everything up tight you want to just pop that middle bead downwards. So again, this one is not going to want to go, that's it. And the final stitch in this row is along a side, so just 1 bead. Again, you're going into the last bead from your previous row. That completes the row we're working on. And then you're going to step up just through the first bead from the row, so that's the first bead in a pair in this case. That completes the second row of your square increase cycle. So let's pause there and you can catch up. Okay, so row 3 of the square increase cycle, once again we're putting a pair of beads in each corner and a single bead along each space in the side. So once more we're starting from a corner, so we're going to pick up 2 beads, pass through the second bead in that corner pair. Now we've got 2 spaces along the side this time, so we've got 1 bead to go in each. So let's pick up 1, pass through 1, pick up 1, pass through the next bead, and that happens to be the first in your next corner pair. So once again we've got 2 to add, passing through the second bead in the corner pair. We've got 1 bead in each space along the side, and we're at the next corner. So again, the increase, that's 2 beads through the second bead in the pair, 1 bead through the next bead from the previous row rather, 1 bead through the first bead in your next corner pair. Being in a corner, we're picking up 2 beads, going through the second bead in the pair. And now as we come to the last side, we've got 1 bead to add in each space. And once again, as you get to the last space, your single bead goes on the needle, you go through the last bead from your previous row, and then you step up through just the first bead from this row, the row you've just finished. And that completes the third row of your square cycle. So you catch me up and then we'll look at the next row. Okay, now in row 4 of the cycle, we've got no more increases. So that means we're always just putting 1 bead on the needle. So again, we're starting in a corner. We've got 1 bead on the needle, going through the second bead in the pair of beads that sat in the corner. 1 bead on through the next bead from the previous row, pick up 1 through the next bead from the previous row, pick up 1 through the bead from the previous row, and again back at a corner, but we've got no increases this time, so we're picking up 1, passing through the second bead in the corner pair. Straight along the next side, adding 1 bead in each stitch, and with any luck this is all looking very familiar as Peyote Stitch. As we reach the next corner, again we've just gone through the first bead in the corner pair, pick up 1, go through the second bead in the corner pair. Along the next side we've got 1 bead in each stitch, and notice how each row the number of beads in your sides is increasing, and that's going to happen throughout as you grow your square with more rows. So again, we're at a corner, we're still adding just 1 bead to go through the second bead in the corner pair, 1 bead in each stitch along the side. Let's just unhook that thread. And once more, as we come to the end of the row, we've got 1 bead added, go through the last bead from your previous row, and then step up by passing through the first bead in the row you've just completed. So we've definitely got a square shape now, and that completes row 4 of the square increase cycle. Now in row 5 of the square increase cycle, once again there's no increases, so we're just adding 1 bead in each stitch. This time you're basically working along the 4 sides, so it's just pick up 1, pass through 1, all the way around the row. Now if the pattern gives you bead counts for the row, this is really helpful. You can count out the beads before you start, and then that will help you identify if there have been any problems. If you've got beads left over at the end, then it's possible that you missed out a stitch or forgot an increase, depending what row you're on. If you run out of beads before you reach the end, then possibly you added too many beads in one place. But there is a third possibility, never discount that. Sometimes you just actually miscounted the beads or picked up beads from a wrong pile. So always look and check things carefully if you think you might have made a mistake, because it's much easier to correct it now before you go on, rather than finding out a few rows ahead that your square shape is looking a bit odd and something's gone wrong further back. So that has nipped us very quickly round the row. And I'm coming to my final bead, which in this case is a corner. Again, don't forget the step up. So I've gone through the bead from the previous row and I'm stepping up through the first bead I've added in this row. And now we've got an even slightly larger square shape. I'm going to pause there and then I'm going to talk about how we carry on and increase the size of our square. Me again. I'm hoping that demonstration might have convinced you that this project could be something you could try. I mean, that's assuming you like the box, of course. Even if you don't though, no worries. With any luck, that's just given you a taste of Square Peyote Stitch, and maybe you'll find another way to use that, or it works for another project that you've already got on your list of things to do. Anyway, if you do fancy trying the box, as promised, I'm giving you the links where you can find the tutorials just in the product description down below. And I hope that will be something that you might enjoy. In any case, thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe to the channel where I share more actual technique videos, more projects that I've just completed, and just more general beading chat. So thank you and happy beading!